Another video on beef stock because the last one failed. So I've got some more free beef bones from the butchers and I've roasted them off, and we're going to have another go at beef stock. I don't have high hopes for this, actually, if I'm honest. I just don't get, I've never understood with beef stock where the flavour comes from, because we always used to make stock out of chicken wings when I worked in a proper restaurant. So you got the flavour from the meat and from the skin and from the gelatin, like gristle parts of the bone, and a little bit of marrow if we could be bothered to chop into the bone. So I understood where the flavour came from the chicken stock, and there was lots of caramelised skin and all that kind of stuff, so I could see where the flavour kind of came from. But with just beef bones, with not much meat on them, I just don't kind of see where the flavour comes from, and I never have. It's, you know, so we're going to give it another go. Since the last one was a failure and it went all cloudy, and it didn't taste much and it went all cloudy. So these are the rib bones. These are what the butcher had. So they were free. I can't argue, can I? And I've roasted them in the oven. I've taken all the roasty bits off the bottom of the pan, and kind of added a bit of water to the pan and got rid of all those bits and put those in the bottom of the pan as well. Strained off all the, there was some lard, some beef stripping that kind of rendered out of the bones. I've saved that, I've used that. I've put that in the tub, so that's to be used some other point. So it was a lovely bit of beef stripping. So cold water, slowly up to the boil. Sediment and scum will come to the top. I'm not going to wash the bones off this time, because I think by washing the bones we're just washing away flavour of what kind of flavour there will be in there. They are rib bones, so they have got kind of bits of marrow in there, so we might get some flavour out there. We'll just kind of have to kind of quite see. So cold water, slowly up to the boil. Sediment and fat will come to the top. We'll skim that off until we've got most of that sediment and fat off, and then we'll simmer for slowly, barely simmering for about 12 hours, I think. I can't see the point in doing it any longer than that, and we'll see what happens, which will be overnight. So it's about 10, quarter to 11, something like that. I've just got in from work. So and these bones were something I did earlier in the day. So I haven't. There's also, if you roast bones and then put them in the fridge, you also get a loose flavour that way. So I roasted them earlier this morning, and I've just kind of left them out all day. So they should be fine. So want some more water? Yeah, we're going to skim off. We're going to lose water through evaporation and through skimming, so we can add more water than actually necessary at the moment, and then that will slowly evaporate off during the night as it slowly cooks. So turn it down a little bit, because I'm going to go for a shower. I don't want it to boil. I just want it to come up to simmer. So I can slowly simmer while I go and have a shower, and then it should be at a good temperature by the time I've had a shower, and then we can skim off and let it go. We are up to a simmer. Covered up behind me, I don't want to bang my head. So what we just need to do is just take that scum and fat off the top, because that will reboil into the stock and make it cloudy, which is not what we want. We want a nice clear stock as possible. Yeah, I was taught at college that you're supposed to bring the bones up to boiling point in water, and then throw that water away and then refill it, and then it cleans the bones. But I just kind of thought, well, you're just washing caramelised flavour away. So I couldn't understand it, why they did that. But because I was at college, I didn't know enough to kind of question my lecturers, whereas I would do now. Like, they would say that they were quite old school in their approach to food. So you kind of chopped parsley and you chopped it to death until it was like fine dust, and that's what you sprinkled on food and in sauces and things. And you kind of washed it as well to get rid of the green flake, to get rid of the green. colour that which would stain a sauce green when they didn't want that. They just kind of wanted the flavour of the parsley, but you were just chopping the parsley and all the flavour was going into the board, and then you were kind of like washing it, and that didn't make sense to me either. Like, why would you wash away and chop away the flavour of the parsley when it was going to be in a parsley sauce? So, but anyway, so we don't do that these days. You kind of want those kind of flavours. So that's simmering enough. I'm going to top up with more. I'm going to put in some cold water. I'm going to put in more than I need because it's going to evaporate for the next. It's going to evaporate off. It's going to see it's steaming, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of steam coming off it. But over 12 hours, that's going to be quite a lot of liquid loss. So we'll throw that water in, and then I'll throw some more scum and sediment and fat to the top, and then we can skim that off, bring it back up to a simmering point, and put it on the lowest gas burner on the lowest amount, and then it'll just sit quietly, bubble away. Well, it won't really bubble, it'll just be hot to the touch, and then we'll see what it's like in 12 hours time, something like that. Right, it's had about 18 hours. It's lost a load of liquid, so let's strain it, and it's best to strain it through some cloth. And it's a 4-layer cloth, so it'll get rid of all those extra impurities and any kind of residual bits of fat on top. It's a bit of a slow process. It's better to ladle it out like this rather than try and pour it, because what happens is it tends to jiggle it about a bit and the impurities want to kind of turn it a little bit cloudy. So it's a little bit of a long process. Normally what you have is a tap in the bottom of a pan, like a proper stock pot, and then you just pour off the stock from the bottom, and then just before it's just about empty, turn the tap off, and any kind of fat that's soaking on, that's left on the top, is left in the bottom of the pan and doesn't go into the stock. But so you see. So tasted it, doesn't taste of much, which leads me to believe that the majority of the flavour in a stock comes from the vegetables that you put in, which makes me think that why would you bother even putting bones in if you're just going to, if all the flavour kind of comes from the vegetables, you might as well just make a vegetable stock, you know, kind of caramelise your vegetables, blacken them, and then make the stock that way out of just vegetable stock. But anyway, and it's a little bit gelatinous, but there's not that much flavour in there. I don't know what bones are ideal for making a beef stock, but I think chicken makes a better stock, if I'm honest. So if you caramelise the wings and carcasses, you get a much better stock, in my opinion, than a beef stock or a veal stock. But anyway, so I'll carry on doing this, and then we'll let it go cold, and then put it in the fridge, and then we'll see how it sets up overnight. So it looks like there's plenty of jelly come out of the bones and the sinews and things, so it should be quite a gelatinous stock, but we'll see in the morning when it's set. Right, it's been in the fridge overnight, so it should have cooled and set. We'll see how gelatinous it is. Yeah, it's got some jelly to that. There's fat come to the top, so that can be easily scraped off. Just taste a little bit of it. See, all that fat will just scrape off. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might just freeze it for the moment, and then we'll kind of have a play around with it. Do I think it's worth doing? No, not if it's going to be on the gas for 18-20 hours, something like that. I don't think it's going to be worth it. But in the middle of winter, if you've got like a stove, like a wood burning stove, and you can control the temperature of it and have it simmering away slowly simmering away for 18 hours, it's not going to cost you anything to make, so yeah, worth doing. But from home use, no, not really, because it's not as if it's an amazing kind of flavour. Um, yeah, and you could buy something that tasted better. You wouldn't know you wouldn't really know what you were buying. And I think it needs vegetables in it. To be honest, a beef stock, I think a chicken stock's probably the way to go if you're going to make stocks at home, and you can get away with cooking them for 6 hours and get a better stock than you can with beef bones, in my opinion.